Okay, folks, I'm going to try to go over with you how to divide fractions using a number line. It's always good to have visuals to back up your understanding. Excuse me. Because it does demonstrate how you know something instead of just memorizing an algorithm. So I took this snip off of your textbook. Number line. Okay. So as I said, I snipped this out of the textbook. And the very first thing that it says is to use common denominators. Once we have common denominators in place, it's a whole lot easier to compare things. So we're going to look at 4/5, 4 over 5, divided by 1 over 10. And basically what that is asking is, how many times can I skip over 1/10 in order to get to 4/5? Or how many times does 1/10, 1 over 10, 1/10, go into 4/5? So the easiest way to do this is by dealing with common denominators. So we know that the lowest common denominator of 5 and 10 is 10, because it's the same as the lowest common multiple. Okay, and what we're going to do is create equivalent fractions. So whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top, right? So 5 times 2 is 10, so I'm going to multiply by 2 here, and I get 8. Because I didn't change anything with the denominator, I don't change anything with the numerator. Now I have 8/10 divided by 1/10. And if you look over here at this number line, you'll see that the number line goes from 0 to 1, because fractions are less than 1. And it's been divided up into tenths portions. And what you can do is just skip count and say, well, 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, and 8/10. I've skipped 8 times. So really what you can do when you're dealing with a situation like this is just treat it as 8 divided by 1. And you know that you have 8 times that a tenth can go into 8/10. 10 divided by 10 is 1, so 8 over 1 is 1. Okay? This gets a lot more tricky when we're dealing with, imagine if it was 8 over 10 divided by 3 over 10. 8 divided by 3 is going to give you a remainder, and that's what we're going to start looking at. So the next one says, use this number line, find 3/5 divided by 1/2. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to rewrite this again, 3 over 5 divided by 1/2. So what it's asking you is, how many times does 1/2 go into 3/5? So first thing again is lowest common denominator. I know my LCM of 5 and 2 is 10. So I'm going to take 5, I know is multiplied by 2 to get 10, so I'm going to do the same with the 3. So 3 times 2 is 6. 2, to get to 10, I have to multiply by 5. So I'm going to do the same to the numerator. 1 times 5 is 5. And then we're going to look over here at the number line. It's already divided it up for you. It is divided into tenths, but you'll notice that every now and then we get fifths because it's reducing it to lowest terms. But what we need to do is locate 6 over 10. So we can come along here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3/5 is the same as 6 over 10. So I'm just going to stick a line right here, because that's the absolute maximum that I can go to. And now it's saying, how many times can I get 5/10 into that 6/10 portion. So I'm just going to erase some of this stuff so that we can see. So what you want to do is you want to look at 5/10 is your amount that you're skipping. Okay, so it's like you're making this big leap. You're doing a big frog jump over to 5 over 10. in this big leap, you have skipped 5/10, right? So you've skipped over 5 sections. So I'm going to write skip by 5 because we're going to need that later. Okay. What that means is if we skipped by 5 to get to 5/10, I'm going to have to skip by a whole other 5 to get to 1 whole. So skipping by 5 means that I can only basically do this once. I can skip by a full 5 points, and then I have to stop here because I only have this little guy left over to jump until I get to my very end portion, the maximum I can go. So I know that I'm only allowed to make 1 full skip jump. So this portion here represents 1 whole. Based on my number line, I've got this one little sliver left over, but it's no longer a 10th. It has the distance of a 10th on our number line, so I can state that it's 1, but now instead of it being 1 out of 10, it's 1 out of the next jump. And that next jump has a total of 5 sections that you're jumping. So 5 becomes your new denominator. Okay, so I'm going to show this again with the next example. I'll change colors on this one so it's a little bit different. So this one says 1 over 3 divided by 1 over 4. Now I know my lowest common denominator is my LCM of 3 and 4, so that's going to be 12. And I'm still dividing, and it's still 12 over here. Then I start creating my equivalent fractions. So to get from 3 to 12, I multiply by 4. So I'm going to do the same over here. 1 times 4 is 4. To get from 4 to 12, I'm going to multiply by 3. So 1 times 3 is 3. So now I'm looking at 4/12 as being my total, because that's the thing that I'm dividing up. And then I want to know how many times 3/12 can go into it. So again, we've got 12/12, and then we've got thirds, because it's reducing those thirds down. But I typically keep it all in that one, with the one denominator of 12. So I've got to go all the way over to 4/12. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So instead of a third, I'm going to call this 4 over 12 again. Just like up here, this one was 6 out of 10. I just didn't write it down. Okay, 3 over 12 tells me how far I'm going to skip. So I'm going to skip across those 3 sections. Okay, so 3 out of 12 is my skip number. So I'm going to write down here that I'm skipping by 3 because I'm going to need that information. Once I've skipped by 3, right, I'm trying to keep the colors consistent here. I know that I could go 3 more to get to 6 out of 12. I can skip 3 more to get to 9 out of 12, and then I can skip 3 more to get to 1. That doesn't concern me though, because I'm only allowed to go to 4/12. Okay, so this is as far as I can go, is here. And that is represented by a width of 1 over 12, but remember, we have to look at it now in terms of that skip amount. So I am able to do 1 full skip, so that's why it equals 1 whole, and then I'm only able to do a portion of that skip. And that skip, I'm skipping by 3, it's 1 section out of 1, 2, 3, because 3 is my total skips allowed. So 1 section out of the 3. Okay, I'm going to do, I don't have a number line, so it might get a bit messy, but we'll try. If I want to do 2/5, no, we'll do 2 out of 5. Yeah, 2/5. And we want to divide it by Let's go thirds. I'm trying to keep the number low enough that I can still draw a number line. Okay, my my LCD is my lowest common multiple, which is 15. Still dividing. 15. Okay. I want to change into equivalent fractions. So to get from 5 to 15, I have to times by 3. So 2 times 3 is 6. And to get from 3 to 15, I have to multiply by 5. And 1 times 5 is 5. Actually, I'm going to change these numbers just to make them a little bit bigger for you so that we hopefully don't have a single skip happening. Actually, that can stay. This is going to go to 4. And then we've got something that we can work with a little bit more. Okay, so 5 to 15, if this becomes 4 out of 5, 4 times 3 is 12. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to draw a number line. I'm going to do my best here. This is 1 whole, 15 out of 15. 14 out of 15, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 4, 3, 2. Could extend this a little bit. 1, and this has a value of 0 at the end. Okay, so remember that we're starting with 12 out of 15, so that's the maximum that we can go to. So that we're going to plot first. I haven't bothered to reduce any of my fractions along this number line because I'd rather just deal with the numbers that are there. So 12 out of 15, our maximum location that we can go to is here. Okay, 5 out of 15 means that I have to skip count by 5s in order to get there. So I have one skip count that I can do. It takes me from 0 to 5 out of 15. I have 2 skip counts I can do that takes me from 5 to 10. So notice it's a skip by 5. So I'm going to go across here. And then I know that if I needed to go further, I would skip jump all the way across to 15 out of 15, which is 1. But notice how this is my maximum. So I can't go any further. But what I do see is that I have 2 portions here. So I'm going to use this information that's on the top of the line here. I know that this is 1 whole jump. Okay, so that's 1 skip. This is 2 whole jumps or skips, but they're complete, which means they're whole. So that gives me 2 whole jumps. In addition to that, I have these 2 little portions here, but instead of saying it's out of 15, because it's not out of that whole number line, it's out of the distance of my skipping. And I am skipping by 5, so that 5 goes in there. Okay, I hope this helps.